morning, class. Happy Monday. So, tell me about your worlds. How was your weekend? Vera?
It was pretty good with my homework and
Nothing much. Same old, same old.
yeah.
What about you, Claire?
Yeah, the same, some homework, pretty tense.
Well, cool. Today we're going to talk about Chapter 11, which is about disruptive impulsive control and conduct disorders. So we'll start with conduct disorders. It's a failure to follow socialization that teaches against aggressive behavior. So a lot of kids will be aggressive when they're growing up, but parents and teachers teach them to act differently. But with conduct disorder, they fail to meet these socializations. They continue to behave aggressively and break rules despite being taught otherwise. And it's the worst manifestation of these types of issues. There are other varying degrees of disorders that have similar symptoms, but it's the worst of these. So some contributions to conduct disorder include all of these on the board. It's often preceded by oppositional defiant disorder, which is a recurrent pattern of negative, defiant, disobedient, and hostile behavior towards authority figures. They throw temper tantrums and they're irritable. But conduct disorder also has to do with the impairment in the frontal lobe, which interferes with their ability to plan, avoid harm, and learn from negative experiences. There are also some environmental factors to conduct disorder. So being exposed to child abuse, having a dysfunctional family, and any parents who abuse drugs and alcohol or being raised in poverty have all been signs that have led to conduct disorder. So there are three different types of onset of conduct disorder. There's childhood onset, which is before the age of 10 years old. There is adolescent onset, which is where it begins to occur in the teenage years. And then there's unspecified onset, which is where it's unknown. They just had it for as long as they can remember. So there's 15 behavioral criteria for a conduct disorder, but they're broken into 4 generalized subtypes that comprise most of the symptoms. So aggression to people and animals, destruction of property, deceitfulness and theft, or a serious violation of rules. Further requirements include disturbance in behavior that causes clinically significant impairment in social, academic, and occupational functioning. So the treatment for conduct disorder involves family therapy, especially when they're younger. That's very important. They'll take them to outreach activities, and they'll do individual cognitive behavioral therapy. And in the most extreme situations, they'll give them medication that is generally stimulants. So here is a video example of a person who has struggled with conduct disorder.
So good morning, ladies. How are we today?
We're struggling with some problems at home.
Okay. So what seems you're fine? So what seems to be the underlying problem?
Well, she's been having multiple problems at school. She was caught stealing someone's phone. She's been aggressive with her little siblings. She was caught graffitiing a wall with her friend. She's been staying out past her curfew, trying to avoid any of her chores.
Okay.
I'm just not sure what to do at this point.
That's fair enough. Do you have anything to add?
Okay, so you know how siblings can be. They're just annoying. And the girl that say that I steal her phone, our phone is just so similar, you know? So, and yeah.
Okay.
I received a video from the school
Yep.
of her stealing the other girl's phone.
Okay. I'll take a little look at this then.
What are you doing?
I dropped my phone here, so I just...
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
That looks like my phone.
No, it's mine.
Okay.
My phone.
Well, I think I've seen enough. Do you mind if you could leave the room shortly so I can just have a few words with your mother?
Yeah, I know her.
Okay, so from what I've seen and heard, there's obviously an underlying problem. I predict that it's possibly conduct disorder just from my initial observations. But I'd like to get to know your daughter a bit more and investigate the issue further. And if my conclusions are correct, we will start engaging in some treatments to help with your home life and hopefully make it less disruptive for you. So some possible treatment options we could go with is like family therapy and behavioural therapy. And if there are any other underlying issues like possibly some mental health problems, we can also look at some medication, so some stimulants, and hopefully that will help with your daughter and help your relationship.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Okay, so the next disorder we're going to discuss is antisocial personality disorder. It is a chronic mental condition, so it can never be overcome. It involves dysfunctional ways of thinking, perceiving situations, and relating to others, and it's very destructive. Some of the major symptoms of antisocial personality disorder include disregard for right and wrong, persistent lying or deceit to exploit others, using charm and wit to manipulate others for personal gain or for sheer personal pleasure, intense egocentrism, sense of superiority, recurring difficulties with the law, repeatedly violating the rights of others by the use of intimidation, dishonesty, and misrepresentation, child abuse or neglect, hostility, significant irritability, agitation, impulsiveness, aggression or violence, lack of empathy for others, and lack of remorse about harming others, unnecessary risk-taking and dangerous behaviors, poor or abusive relationships, irresponsible work behavior, and failure to learn from the negative consequences of behavior. I'm going to put this all on Moodle, so don't worry, you can get it later, but we have to go because it's getting close to time. So some contributions to antisocial personality disorder include genetics, where they inherit tendencies from their parents or have a family history of the disorder. There's also environmental factors that lead to people developing the disorder. Verbal, physical, or sexual abuse, mainly as a child. Unstable or chaotic family life. Loss of parents through traumatic divorce or death. And history of substance abuse in parents or other family members. So treatment for antisocial personality disorder, though it will never cure the disorder, includes psychotherapy, individual, group, or family, which as a child, if it occurs, definitely family. Up until that point, individual or group can be the decision for the client. Medications that are prescribed include antipsychotics, antidepressants, and mood stabilizing medications. So here's another video example of a woman. She is 25 years old and has been struggling with antisocial personality disorder for 4 years, and it's a video of her therapist discussing what she's been going through and how they've been treating her.
We haven't really discussed your most recent incident much. What happened?
Well, I was out at the park with some friends that night and we were having a few drinks, and I guess it got out of hand a little bit, and the policeman just turned up at the wrong time and we were a little loud and a little rowdy, so yep, he gave me a warning. He wanted to take me to the police station, but look, I was able to talk him out of it, so it was all good. Didn't matter.
Well, there have been multiple other times that you've been stopped and given warnings by police. How do you get out of these?
The police just turn up at the wrong time. Like, that's the bottom line. So I had to say a few words, try to explain the situation, which there's really nothing wrong with the situation. And most of the time I get a warning. They do try to take me and arrest me, but look, I've gotten out of it so far, never been to prison. I've just ended up in therapy, which is kind of pointless, I guess.
Later that night, you were kicked out of a bar for getting into a fight with another girl. How did you feel in this situation?
She deserved it, I guess. She'd been annoying me and I punched her, and yeah, it's just what needed to be done, I guess.
Jessie's 25 now, and I've been seeing her for the last 4 years, and little progress has been made, as you can see. There's no cure for antisocial personality disorder, but there are treatments such as psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy that can help subdue the symptoms.
So the next disorder we're going to discuss is intermittent explosive disorder, which this disorder is like an anger disorder. It's a behavioral disorder characterized by explosive outbursts of anger, often to the point of rage that are disproportionate to the situation at hand. It includes a lot of people who have this disorder experience things such as road rage, domestic abuse, throwing or breaking objects, and or other temper tantrums. The causes of this disorder, environmental, like the other ones, having a rough family life and being abused as a child. It can also be passed down from their parents, so if a parent has this disorder, it's likely that the child will have it as well. And then there's also a chemistry problem in their brain where their serotonin works differently than most people's. Some of the symptoms of this disorder include aggressive episodes, so they'll be rageful, they'll be irritable, have increased energy, racing thoughts, tingling, tremors, palpitations, and chest tightness are all symptoms of that. Then they also will have outbursts. These could be verbal and behavioral, so this could include temper tantrums, tirades, heated arguments, shouting, slapping, pushing, shoving, physical fighting, property damage, threatening or assaulting people or animals. These episodes, unlike antisocial personality disorder where there is no remorse, they do experience remorse and guilt and embarrassment after experiencing these things. So after they've cooled down, they'll realize that their decisions were not the best. So here's a video clip of the TV show The Office that has a very good example of someone who struggles with this disorder. So let's look at that.
Several weeks ago, Andy Bernard had an incident. But after 5 weeks in anger management, I'm back. And I've got a new attitude and a new name and a bunch of new techniques for dealing with the grumpies.
And your stupid face! And your stupid office! Ah!
He does not like that wall.
So here's some of the treatments of that disorder. So cognitive behavioral therapy, as you saw in the clip, he talked about how he had been going to therapy and visiting with his counselor. Well, that is something that these people experience. They can go to either individual or group sessions. And then there also are medications that can be prescribed in the most serious situations. So antidepressants or anticonvulsive mood stabilizers are generally used. Now, this is all the time we have for today, so I'll put the slides up on Moodle and you can read the rest. But thanks for playing. See you guys on Wednesday.